I mean, I grew up with Man of Steel, and watching Batman versus Superman. I was kind of disappointed when I watched Ultimate Cut. I was surprised that that the movie itself was actually good. Wish Warner Bros. Didn't actually went in and did stuff, because if you compare like Man of Steel to like the theatrical cut of like Batman versus Superman and Justice League, including you know the Suicide Squad movie in 2016, you can tell that Warner Bros. Went inside and just crunched it all up, because you can tell with Man of Steel, it was honestly I think one of the best DC movies in the DCU. And you might be saying, hey, it's not a good movie. It was good it was the right thing for Warner Bros. To step in and did it. But if you actually took a look, they didn't do a good job. And it's easy to tell that Warner Bros. Didn't know what they were doing, because when we got the 2021 released Snyder Cut, obviously, even people who hated the Justice League movie that came out in 2017 says that the Snyder Cut is overall better than the 2017 cut. And it's a 70, I believe it's somewhere within the 70% Rotten Tomatoes score for the Snyder Cut, and the theatrical cut is like around the 40% ratings in Rotten Tomato for the 2017 cut. And you might be saying, oh, maybe this was an exception. No, I mean, look at James Gunn's version of the Suicide Squad, his version, the 2021 released. That movie, since Warner Bros. Didn't do any nasty picking, they let James Gunn do whatever he wants. And this goes to show that movie ended up being successful because it was a well-made movie. There was no studio interference, so James Gunn was able to make a really good movie. And if you compare it to 2016 Suicide Squad, that the reason that movie failed was because Warner Bros. Decided to reshoot the movie and do whatever they want with the movie, right? And it goes to show that studio interference are not good. But in certain cases, they should have. And I'm talking about Black Adam. You can see with Black Adam, Dwayne Johnson tried to take over the project and made him a good guy in a sense, not an anti-hero, a good guy. And I was confused. I I did enjoy the fact that it was part of the DCU by having Amanda Waller, James Gunn's wife, and Henry Cavill appear in the movie. And I specifically, and I was one thing I would give Dwayne Johnson a credit was he was able to bring back Henry Cavill, which honestly DC, not DC, but Warner Bros. Didn't have the guts to do it. So yeah, but ever since that movie bombed in the box office, that's where Peter Safran and James Gunn kind of decide to decide to like kind of restart the universe. And I understand from his point of view, and I know I said in the past that James Gunn shouldn't, but after watching not just Guardians 3, but rewatching Guardians 1 and 2, and then rewatching the Suicide Squad and Peacemaker, I do believe he should reboot it. Now, I would have said take your time, honestly. I would rather he release the air cut of the movie in the meanwhile, at least in 2024, alongside the Joker sequel. And I would also love for him to at least do um, a, a proper closure to the universe, where where he does something like the Flash, where they do a multiverse thing again, or a movie where every character that appears in a universe gets together in one movie and has a weird finale battle and game type thing, so that at least there's a proper closure to this universe, instead of having Aquaman 2 as the last film in the DC universe, because apparently there was a ton of reshoots that happened, not just for that movie, but also for Shazam 2 and Flash, and y'all can tell that those movies are heavily reshotted, and it would be nice for those movies at least for that universe to get some sort of proper closure, where at least maybe do like a crossover event, kind of like what they did with the first Suicide Squad movie, or with Batman versus Superman, something like that, to where there was a closure, or do like a sequel to like Man of Steel or something, to where you can at least bring everyone together in the finale and just kind of close it off together and have a good send off. Because this originally was supposed to lead to a bigger thing, but instead it's abruptly ended in Aquaman 2, which honestly, I am kind of sad to see this ending, but yeah, it is a thing where, like, hey, you gotta do what you gotta do. So Aquaman 2 was the last and final movie to kind of just end the universe, and honestly, I am kind of sad. I am planning to maybe go to the movies to watch that movie, just so that at least I have in a sense, I complete watching all the DC movies um, in the theater, obviously except for the movies I had mentioned earlier. And I want to do it in a way where, obviously I saw the first movie in the franchise in the theater, and I want to close it out by watching the last movie in the franchise in the movie theater. So yeah. So 10 years ago, in 2013, Man of Steel had came out, and it came out a year after The Dark Knight Rises had came out. Imagine, and this was also written and produced by Christopher Nolan and David S. Goyer. They actually came up with the idea of Man of Steel during the production, like during the pre-production of Dark Knight Rises, as they were developing the script. David S. Goyer and uh, Chris Nolan had an idea for a Man of Steel movie, and they went off and created Man of Steel. Now, we're in this weird thing where the franchise ended in Aquaman 2. This year was a weird year for the DC Cinematic Universe. We had 4 films coming out this year from DC, and it's weird. And the reason I say it's weird is because one of the DC movies, Blue Beetle, when they went into production, shot it. It was originally supposed to be part of the DC extended universe, but then James Gunn wanted to put it into the new universe, his version. So that's why we don't see appearances by any of the DC superheroes that were in previous DC projects in the DCU. We only get mentions of only the superheroes, not even the events that happened in previous movies, only the superhero names like Batman, Superman, and The Flash. Hey guys, welcome to Breaking Feud. I know I haven't made a video in a while, but it is, at the moment of recording, December 27th, and a lot has happened, but I do want to talk about one particular thing I'm gonna kind of miss this year, and it was, in a sense, a closure to something I grew up with. It is the DCEU. Officially, the DCEU has ended with Aquaman 2, which came out, I believe, like last week, on a Friday. Let's talk about it. So at the moment of recording this video, I haven't watched Aquaman 2. I've watched almost every DCU movie in the movie theater, except for specifically Suicide Squad and Wonder Woman. So Suicide Squad, 2017's Wonder Woman, and the 2020 release Wonder Woman 1984. Which, okay, that movie, it was really hard for me to go to the theaters just because it came out around the time of COVID, but I did see it on the day of launch on HBO Max. So that's a whole separate thing, but yeah. Now I am hoping that James Gunn, does a good job with, universe. So yeah, and I hope it leads to, like, a couple of Justice League films, kind of like the MCU, and I wish and I hope in this case, in James Gunn's case, he does a full closure, where he has a couple Justice League films, couple standalone, and couple crossover movies, kind of like Batman vs Superman or Captain America: Civil War, where there are crossover films like that. No, I'm not talking about like it. So what? I don't mean like the Justice League Avengers films. I'm talking about crossover films, like you know, Thor Ragnarok, where you had Thor and Hulk, Captain America: Civil War, where you kind of had all the Avengers together, Batman vs Superman, where you had Wonder Woman and Batman and Superman all in one film, kind of like that. I hope there are movies like that he does, and then does a nice closure and send off to that franchise, because I do think in the case of the franchise like Fast and Furious or the Marvel universe, because it was a thing where they built it up to the end game, at least for Marvel size. They built it up to where Endgame was kind of in a sense of finale. I wish they kind of ended it over there, and then did a kind of a reboot type of thing where they don't have to create a whole new franchise. Just make standalone solo films like they used to do back in the day, pre-Marvel time, and just make good solo standalone films. I would love to see that. Honestly, and I hope Peter Safran and James Gunn do that. And if they do want to do a whole multiverse, I mean a whole like, if they want to still continue the whole universe and not do culture, I would love to see like a multiverse thing where where the I guess the finale of the whole universe deals with a multiverse, and it branches off to I guess a different universe or something, to where if he wanted, he can keep some of the cast members the same, maybe some different, or he could end it there and make a whole new universe, to where down the road, as he's building that other universe, DC universe, after he closes his new one, they could do like a crossover. And I feel like Marvel easily has the chance to do it. They can bring back the X-Men franchise, the Fantastic Four franchise, and the Marvel franchise all together, in a couple different movies. They could easily do that. And honestly, I feel like, at least with James Gunn, he could easily do that. We already have the current DC universe, which is ended with Aquaman. We have the Matt Reeves universe. We have the Chris Nolan Batman universe. We got the Michael Keaton Batman universe. We have Superman Returns with Brandon Routh / Christopher Reeve. We got the Keanu Reeves Constantine. We got so many different versions, and he can do a crossover with the DC TV shows, and they can do a crossover with the comic books and the animated movies and shows. He has potential, and it is a case of doing something different. And I hope James Gunn and Peter Safran does a good job with the universe they're building. But it is sad to see the DCEU had potential. Yes, they did do Batman vs Superman as a second film. I kind of enjoyed it, but I understand where people are coming from, and I do agree to a certain extent they should have done a Man of Steel sequel and or other Soul films before Justice League. But I do like the way Justice League. I did like the Snyder Cut, but obviously originally it was not going to be 4 hours long. I'm assuming it was going to be close to 3 hours, maybe 2 hours and 30 minutes, somewhere around the time frame. And they have followed, at least firstly, done the Marvel route, or if they were going to go completely off the Marvel route, they have done the plan that they originally had announced, which I've talked in the past before, where you can Google search the original plan. So it's like Man of Steel, Batman vs Superman, Suicide Squad, Wonder Woman, Justice League, and then Shazam, and then the Batman, Aquaman, and then I think we were going to get Man of Steel 2, The Batman, um, Joker, and a Joker Harley Quinn movie, and Justice League Part 2, Part 3, a Green Lantern movie, that original plan. They could have gone with that route. And yeah, there were certain movies which they were close to doing, which ended up becoming a different movie. So, for example, Robert Pattinson's Batman movie was originally a Ben Affleck Batman movie. When they went to production, Ben Affleck was originally supposed to, go in and actually direct. He wrote the scripts, did a lot of costume testing and screen testing for the villain Deathstroke. It was to the point that they were about to shoot it, and then he dropped out of directing, but still wanted to be in the movie as a producer, writer, and actor, and then give the director duty to Matt Reeves. But then, obviously, with the reshoots for Justice League, Ben Affleck turned down, and that movie became its own separate thing from the universe. And then Joker, the movie Joker, was originally, I think, part of the DC universe, and obviously branched off and became something else. And then, interestingly enough, Birds of Prey, the Harley Quinn movie, it was originally supposed to be a Gotham Science movie for the DCU, but instead it became a, Birds of Prey movie. And then on top of that, we were supposed to get a Batgirl movie. It was shot, already edited, score, and everything. It was in, I think there were 2 months left before its release, and Warner Bros. Just axed the project off. They shot the whole entire movie. They were ready to release it, but it was axed off. So yeah, it had potential, right? If they didn't screw around with the original plan, they could have an interesting plan. Um, but there were also ways to like kind of deviate away from the plan without ruining it if they didn't like the way Snyder did it. And I don't blame them, right? But the way I guess at least Warner Bros. Handled it wasn't the best. They could have at least consulted a couple of directors. If they didn't want Snyder in the picture, they could have consulted with other directors, like at least with Chris Nolan and Richard Donner. They could have consulted with at least Ben Affleck, who knows how to direct films. They could have consulted with even Marvel directors, like what ended up happening. James Gunn is now running DC. They could have talked to Bryan Singer, who did Superman Returns. No, there's so many directors who are in love with comic book films. They could have went to those people. Um, and with Warner Bros, they've canceled DC projects before in the past, before the DCU, and those projects actually had high potential and could have been amazing films. But yeah, essentially Warner Bros just doesn't know how to do it, and I hope at least with James Gunn he's able to do it. Now I do like the Snyder type world, DC world, but even though I'm not a big fan of James Gunn's Suicide Squad film, it is in a weird position where obviously he didn't have control of what was going on in the universe because the studio just kept interfering with every other project to the point that it was inconsistent. So it's not really his fault, but it was just not my cup of tea. At least in terms of the Guardians, there was a vision. He did do a trilogy, so he was able to flesh out the story while having maintained a somewhat of a creative consultant in the Avengers 3 and 4 films, and kind of knew what direction they were going for in the Marvel universe. So it was easier for him to make his own movie while trying to fit it into a vision that Kevin Feige had, which was a vision they were going for. So yeah. So RP to the DCEU. I mean, I'm glad we had Man of Steel, Batman versus Superman, and at least, you know, I was able to see amazing cast, amazing people who are cast in roles that were perfect for them, and got to see them on the big screen. And yeah, now we're just hoping for the future. So thank you to everyone who's worked on the DC projects. To Zack Snyder, to um, David Ayer, Henry Cavill, Ben Affleck, Gal Gadot, um, what's her name, Margot Robbie, um, Jared Leto, the guy who plays Shazam, Jason Momoa. Thank you for being there. Thank you, Michael Keaton, for also being part of the universe. Thank you for the actress who plays Supergirl. And thank you for the Suicide Squad cast members, and the Justice League cast members for at least being a part of it and giving me hope that y'all were making a universe. And I was glad to finally see a live action Justice League movie. So yeah, and I want to thank y'all for it. So yeah, this is, and I mean, we do have the John Wick series, which ended on number 4, but there are prequels that are coming out. So yeah, but DCU is officially ended. I am planning to see Aquaman 2, but I'm gonna try to see if I can watch in the theater just so that I want to see before 2023 ends, so that at least I know for a fact there's a closure for me. At least I can say I've watched the DCU from start to finish within 10 years. So yeah, thank you everyone who was a big part of the DCU, who tried to make it the best possible it was. Also, thank you to Chris Nolan in a sense, who's kind of in a sense helped with part of the success of the DCU. He's the one who actually initiated the Man of Steel movie, which ended up being part of it. It ended up being the big leap into the DCU. Obviously, with him directing the Dark Knight trilogy, has had a big influence. So I want to thank Chris Nolan for this and everyone else who kind of helped in this thing. And I want to thank all of y'all for doing the hashtag Snyder Cut. We got to finally see a good version of Justice League and giving Snyder his original vision. Let's at least keep doing it for the Suicide Squad movie that David Ayer had done. Please keep doing it so that we can get his cut of Suicide Squad that he deserves. I know James Gunn had discussed with David Ayer and they might do something like that. Release the Ayer cut, but I hope we get the Ayer cut also, so that at least at least in that sense, we get to finally see the original version, and in a sense that can also be part of the closure to the DCEU. So yeah, but also thank you to Jason Momoa for being a cool Aquaman character, and good thing we in a sense ended it with one of the original cast members of the Justice League, who was originally part of the original plan of the DCU. So thank you for at least having Aquaman be the last film instead of Blue Beetle. So yeah, thank you everyone, and yeah, excluding Amber Heard and Ezra Miller. So yeah, but thank you everyone else for this thing. Thank you. I still want to say thank you to Ben Affleck and especially Henry Cavill. I grew up on Superman. Way before I became a big Batman fan, and I'm glad that I was able to see a live action Superman film that was completely disconnected from the Richard Donner verse, because we know with Superman Returns, it used Donner's elements of Superman and somehow tied into that, and even the Smallville show used some Donner Superman elements. At least this was an original plan, so thank you, Henry Cavill, Chris Nolan, and David S. Goyer, and Zack Snyder for this. All of y'all made it amazing. So, yeah. And then for James Gunn, just have a fun time creating the DCU. Have fun, but make it cinema. not like the newer projects. So yeah, thank you to everyone, including Henry Cavill, Zack Snyder, and Christopher Nolan. And thank you, James Wan and uh, Jason Momoa for the Aquaman movie, even though obviously it wasn't what y'all had expected, but at least yeah, we had something. And yeah, let's see the future of the DCEU. Take care, everyone. Peace out. Stay safe. Give this a thumbs up. Share this video with everyone else. And yeah, see y'all in 2024.